When it comes to sticking in the present moment, it can be a pretty tricky thing to do. Sometimes we just want to constantly look back as to what had happened in the past, or perhaps just look forward and think, well, I just want to be there. I don't want to be in my current state. Well, talking with us today about this very thing, the wonderful Tanya Unkovich. Thanks for being a part of the show.
You are always so welcome.
Before we get there, though, Tanya, can I just, sorry if this is too random, we're doing a thing this month for Bible Month about people's favourite Bible verses. Any come to mind for you?
Well, I've got it right in front of me, coincidentally. It's from Chronicles. Be strong and courageous and get to work. Don't be frightened by the size of the task, for the Lord my God is with you. He will not forsake you. He will see to it that everything is finished correctly.
Wow.
I love that, and because that's a translation I haven't heard as much. Is that the message, or where did you get that translation?
That is actually from my Life Application Bible, which I've had since 1989. There you go.
My goodness.
Oh,
That's how old it is.
Be strong and courageous and get to work.
I think it's a
That's
great,
not mucking around,
great
is it?
message, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's honestly my favourite, and I've actually got it handwritten at the front of the Bible. And it's a verse that has always encouraged me to never be frightened by a so-called mountain. Don't be frightened by something that is big. Don't get overwhelmed. Just stay in the present moment, Tanya. The Lord is with you, walking beside you. Just take one step at a time.
I think that is such a brilliant verse, and I actually really do love that translation, so I think I'm going to have to write that somewhere myself. Is there any other verse that really speaks to you?
Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God your needs and don't forget to thank Him for the answers. Philippians.
Wow.
It is a good one, that one, isn't it? Because I think in times of worry and anxiety, sometimes the first place we go is not God, but actually when we do, it can put a different perspective on things, can't it?
Well, it can, and I always love that piece. I think it's in Psalm 139, where it says, God knows every hair on my head. My life is, He knows what's happening. And so if I let go and go, okay, I can't control this, but I do know that the Lord is carrying me, there's nothing for me to worry about. And even if there is, don't worry about it anyway.
Some people might think that anxiety is a modern problem, but it's back there in the scriptures. In fact, it's something that's talked about in the Psalms. It's something which has always been a part of the human condition, but the great news is the answer's always been there as well. It's instead of being anxious, leaning into God.
Yeah, very much so. And I always see that worry and anxiety is about us worrying about something in the future.
Yeah.
And, why on earth would we try and jump ahead of this present day when we're told again in the Bible, just live in today, take one day at a time. So if we're always projecting what's going to happen in the future, we're missing out on that precious day that we're in right now.
So let's talk about that, because that really is the topic for today is being content in the present, being present-minded, I guess you could say. So let's talk about that. How do we get there, and what can we do so that we're not always future-focused or always looking back?
Well, it's about accepting that the present moment isn't always going to be comfortable. Sometimes it's going to feel very uncomfortable. So we have to actually make a decision that we're going to stay in today. We're going to stay in the present moment, even if it does feel uncomfortable, even if all you want to do is bolt, even if all you want to do is start obsessing about what happened last week and all that, just to get away from this present moment. Because it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? We have discomfort, but we also have comfort and joy. And it's about knowing how to just move with that flow of life, really.
Contentment is, can be tricky, particularly in difficult times. Being content despite the fact that things are perhaps less than ideal and not how you would like them to be. I suppose holding on to contentment whilst you're also hoping that things improve, that's a bit of a juggle.
It is. And again, it's about going, okay, is there anything that I can do to change this, to help me go from feeling in a state of suffering to being content? And there probably is. There is possibly something that you can do. If the only thing you can do is change your attitude, then that's great. Then you know that is something you can change. if it is something that you cannot change, it is about really finding a way to feel acceptance that, okay, in this moment, it's not comfortable. And in a way, I'm suffering. I've just got some bad news. But I always say to people, are you able to somehow see the good in this? Can you see that there is something good in this? If not, what could be good about this? And it's about always finding something to have a little bit of a shining light, even in tough times. Because the alternative really is for us to always be in a state of suffering.
Tanya, we're talking about contentedness, and I think that's such an important thing. But there is also that idea of hoping for things to get better. So is it also about taking steps towards those goals in the midst of that suffering or where we're at?
Yeah. And, I was talking about this with a few people this week, interestingly, clients who have got a health goal, wanting to shed weight, wanting to change their health. And they go, oh, my goodness, I've just got so much weight to lose. I can't stand it. And what they can't stand is the present moment, the way it is. Or they're seeing this mountain in front of them. How am I ever going to get all this weight off? The thing is we actually have to be able to be in this day where it's not perfect, but you can actually make a small step. Because here's the thing, if you don't start doing that now, then in a month's time, in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, you're going to be where you are today.
Yeah.
But if you've made a decision just to do a little bit, you could be, 12 pounds down by the end of the year or whatever. But it's about making a small step, a baby step, knowing that that's the starting point.
And I guess also being gracious to yourself if you have a little step backwards one day, not going, oh, well, I'm just going to give up, it's just too hard, but actually going, oh, it wasn't a good day yesterday, but today is a new day.
Absolutely, and accept that having a little bit of a setback is going to be a part of the journey. It's not going to be a straight line up. There is going to be a speed bump along the way. You're going to fall back, but it's there for a reason. We have to learn that it's going to be a little bit tough. We're going to have a little lesson there, so just expect the speed bump, and that's life, isn't it? Without a speed bump, we're not going to learn anything. We're just going to be racing forward.
Something which my wife often says, it's a very wise lady, my wife, and she talks about how, and often she includes this in her prayers, how today is a gift from God. That's why it's called the present. And that sort of little wordplay in there of saying that regardless of the circumstances that we're facing, the fact that we're able to face the circumstances of today, that in itself is a gift of God, and it's for his purposes. That, I suppose, helps put it in the eternal perspective.
Really, absolutely. And there's this wonderful saying that goes a bit like this. I'm really enjoying today. I've never seen this day before. I'm going to make sure I enjoy it because I'm never going to have this day again. And then...
You go on, Tanya.
No, and then, we can then lay our head down at night going, I was really present, and then feel the excitement of another day, the next day. I've not seen this day before.
Yeah.
That's simple, right?
Very, very cool indeed. Tanya, such wisdom, such practical stuff for people that are going through perhaps some difficult times at the moment. If people wanted to reach out to get some of your resources, there's lots of free stuff online, or they can connect with you personally. Where's the best place to start, Tanya?
My website or YouTube, all over social media. There's lots of stuff there to help you on this journey.
Hey, thanks for being a part of the show, Tanya.
You are welcome.
It is just on 4:30. That's time for the latest news headlines.